All right. Hi, Dr. Kate Broderick. Welcome to our show. Thank you for coming on. Everybody just has so many questions, and you being one of the top vaccine scientists in this field, we're just super excited to have you on, and thank you for answering some of our questions. So why don't you just introduce yourself and tell people kind of how we know each other and what you do?
Yes, certainly. So my name's Kate Broderick. I work at a San Diego biotech company called INOVIO, and we happen to be one of the companies that's currently developing a vaccine for against COVID-19. Alicia and I know each other for probably over a year now. Does that sound about right?
I think so.
And we kind of met by chance through me wanting to, it was probably very annoying to all real estate people wanting to see a house that I didn't really have much intention of buying other than nosy, but subsequently did end up buying. So just goes to show persistence does pay off. So
perfect. And that one was a fight, but we did it. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Nicole, do you want to start us off with some questions?
Yeah, so again, Kate, thank you so much for being on with us. One of the first questions that we've been receiving is, what should people know about the virus, especially in regards to what the media may be overlooking or not covering in detail?
My goodness, you could probably sit and talk about this for maybe a couple of hours or something. So I'll try and keep this one short, but I think, firstly, probably the thing I want to say the most about this is a virus that we've only known about for about 4 months. So generally, when we're in the position of developing a vaccine for something, you've known about the pathogen or the disease for potentially even hundreds of years, right? Whereas what we're dealing with at the moment is something completely new. And so you're developing something as you're also trying to learn about it. So that's, from my perspective as a scientist, makes my job kind of complicated, because you're sort of trying to fly an airplane whilst you're building it. So to that point, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's still an awful lot we need to learn about this virus itself. So we know, of course, that it's very infectious, and we can see that by the fact that this pandemic spread all over the globe, and we know that it's spreading person to person, so that's important. But what we don't know is what sort of immune responses does our bodies need to generate for us to be protected, for us basically not to die when we get this virus. So those are the things that we don't know at the moment, and that's what we need to learn more about. So you might have seen in the media and such, like, we don't know if people who have got the virus and recovered, are they protected if they get it again? And we just don't know the answer to questions like that. So those are things that we definitely will get the answer to, but it's just going to take a little bit of time.
So in regards to time, what's the timeline on getting this vaccine, especially for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a question I think maybe I'm asked 100 times a day. 99 of those would be from my sister, who's just desperate to come over and visit again. But no, I mean, and I would love to be able to tell you that, here we are on the first day of May, and that by summer we'll have the vaccine. But I think at this stage, we need to be honest and open with people. And I think realistically, a year to 18 months is probably a fair bet. I think people saying anything sooner, I mean, it's good to be optimistic, but I think at this point, being realistic is probably more important.
I agree with that, for sure.
Awesome. So I read a little bit on your guys' website about the vaccine that you guys are developing, and that you guys are in clinical trials for it. Can you share a little bit about your guys' vaccine and what makes it different?
Yeah, definitely. So we, firstly, let me start with what we do at INOVIO. So the types of vaccines that you and I are probably really familiar with, the types that we got as kids, and we vaccinate our children with at the moment are what we call traditional or conventional vaccines. And they're amazing public health tools that have saved millions and millions of lives. But one of the downsides of those vaccines is they take a really long time to develop, generally sort of somewhere between 3 and 5 years. Well, we certainly don't have 3 or 5 years right now. So that's where the vaccines that what we at work at INOVIO on kind of come into play. And these are not based on proteins or viruses like traditional vaccines, but are based on pieces of the DNA of the virus. And so that's what we develop here, which is DNA medicines. So we take a tiny part of the genetic sequence of the virus and use that as kind of a template for your body to learn and to generate an immune response to. So on the 10th of January, so only a few months ago, we received the genetic sequence from the Chinese authorities and immediately started working on the vaccine. And then 83 days later, we were incredibly proud to start our first clinical trial. And we've now got all the subjects enrolled in that clinical trial. So that's 40 people have now received our vaccine, and we're just waiting to get the data from that. So that was really a huge milestone for us. And to do it in 83 days is really,
badass, for lack of better words.
Mind-blowingly fast. Certainly, we've never done anything nearly as fast as that previously.
That's incredible.
Awesome. Cool. How long do you think that this is going to we're going to get past the curve and be able to go back? Or do you think that this way of life is going to last until we can get a vaccine in place? I know there's so many unanswered questions, so it might be kind of a shot in the dark.
Yeah, it's, I certainly don't think we'll go back to what we class as normal until we have a vaccine. So I think you might still see people wearing masks and practicing some level of social distancing for, I personally think, another 12 months, but obviously that's just my opinion. Yeah. I do think people should be prepared for the possibility that we're going to kind of come off some of these really stringent self-isolation, but then we're going to see a reignition of the vaccine infection numbers, and we might have to go back into quarantine again. I do think we should be prepared for that being a possibility. And I think if we prepare ourselves for that, then it won't be such a shock as it was the first time around. I mean, of course, ideally that won't be what's happening, but nobody can say one way or the other at the moment.
Yeah. So Kate, what advice do you have for people that, still have to leave their home for work or to go to the grocery store or, do these essential jobs? Would you say, we've heard people talk about wearing masks, washing your hands, leaving packages outside for a while. What advice do you have in regards to people that still have to do work outside of their home?
Yeah, I think all of those are really good, Nicole. I mean, it is kind of hard in, May 2020 to sort of wrap your head around the fact that washing your hands is what we've got at the best at the moment. But to be completely honest, scientifically and medically, that's still the best thing you can do at the moment. I'm a little bit skeptical about the use of masks. Okay. Because firstly, a mask is only as good as it is put on your face. So for when we're working in the lab, we have to have the masks professionally fitted for our faces. Now, clearly that's not practical for the general public. I completely get that. But, so there's a limit to what an unprofessionally fitted mask can do for you, basically is what I'm saying. However, that said, certainly wearing a mask stops you touching your mouth and stops you touching your nose. So I'm not saying they're not.
But don't have a false sense of security.
Yes, but I don't think you should think I'm wearing a mask, therefore I'm protected. Again, I think you should be a wee bit careful about that kind of thing. Yeah. But wearing a mask is certainly, I don't think it can hurt unless you have asthma or whatever, but you would already know about that. Washing your hands, definitely. I personally, when I go to the supermarket, because obviously we all do have to go out and buy food, I wear disposable gloves.
Okay.
And I think, you can get access to them certainly on the internet. But again, gloves are only as good as the fact that you then take them off and dispose of them in an appropriate
Don't touch all your stuff in the meantime.
Exactly. So, I mean, most of these things are just general sort of safety tips that are almost common sense in a way. I really would want to be very clear that, in my opinion, we should still be sticking to the social distancing thing. Even this weekend, certainly I've noticed, a lot more people getting together for barbecues and, just popping round to people's homes. And I know the temptation and I know how frustrating it is, but I really don't think we're past the worst of it yet. I think we should be really cautious about kind of flaunting the rules too much at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a great tip, and for people to realize that just because we're seeing some positive results doesn't mean that it's over.
Yeah.
Not at all. And potentially, you let your guard down, this could come just right back and potentially worse the second time. We've certainly seen that in the past with other outbreaks.
Mm-hmm.
This is an off the cusp question, but have we seen the mutation of this virus, and if it is mutating quickly?
So that's always the concern, right? And that's the major reason why we don't have a good vaccine against flu, or by good I mean we don't have a vaccine against flu, because the thing keeps mutating, and that's why you have to go every year. Thankfully, we are not seeing anything like those mutation rates for SARS-CoV-2, because if we were, we would be in a lot of problems at the moment. Thankfully, touch wood, we're not seeing that. And the mutations we are seeing are in parts of the virus that aren't affected by the vaccine. So touch wood, it stays that way.
Okay, good.
So another thing we've heard people talk about is that the virus may have arrived in California much earlier than we previously thought. I've had a couple friends that think that they had it months ago. Have you seen any scientific evidence that would support this?
It's certainly possible. I think all that, so that kind of thing is called epidemiological data, is where basically you sort of plot where the virus started and how it was spread and all this kind of thing. So there's a ton of people working on that at the moment. Definitely, it's possible from some of the data we're seeing in China, is that they were actually seeing a lot more cases earlier on than previously was the case. And without wanting to get into conspiracy theories, that's totally possible, because this could have been diagnosed as just pneumonia or chest infections. It wasn't. I don't want to get into that, but I guess where I'm going with that is, it's very easy for things to be misdiagnosed until you know what the root of the problem was. So I think it's very possible that it was in California earlier than we initially thought it was. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Gotcha.
That's kind of a good thing in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get the antibody tests to show that, and then if the immunity response shows that it holds, Yeah. So cool. Let's see, what's our next question? Some feel that we shouldn't be locked down, and I think you've already kind of touched on this, and that we should just let it run its course and get herd immunity and all of that. What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, I'm a mum of 2 young kids who are now not in school, and that's the case, of course, for everybody. But believe me, if there could be another way around this, that we weren't all locked in our homes, I would be the first one to support this. But from my opinion as a scientist, this is the only option we have at the moment to stop the spread of this. There is no, in my opinion, there is no other option to stop the spread of this virus. You do not want happening in San Diego what's happening in New York. It is horrific in New York.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a great and kind of grim tip for people, that just because we've handled it well here doesn't mean we're overreacting.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Really quite the opposite. Yeah.
I think this is one that you can touch on as much or as little as you want, but what do you have to say about all the conspiracies that are coming out of this, as far as like the 5G causing coronavirus and microchipping people and it being cooked up in a lab? You're a scientist, you've been studying this thing. What do you have to tell people?
you know, really early on, I went to Switzerland, right, you know, in January, I went to Switzerland for the big meeting about this at the WHO. And one of the early talks at that meeting was, what's scarier, not scarier, but what's as concerning as the virus itself was the misinformation about the virus. And at that time, it was, you know, a lot of racist propaganda against Chinese people because of, you know, where the virus started. And just for reference sake, this could have started anywhere in the world. It just happened to start in China, in my opinion. I do think, and I really understand it, especially when you're locked in your home. Of course, you're just going to sit on your phone all day and kind of scroll through things, but really, really try to be careful about where you're taking information from, because if it's not a trusted news source, I'm not saying don't read it, but just take it with a huge grain of salt, because some of the things that are being touted at the moment, it's literally nonsense, and it will get people more upset and more worried and frustrated than needs to be the case. And you know, people are already stressed out and probably depressed because of the situation, the economic situation, being stuck at home. We don't need to add to that with stupid stories about things that have no basis in reality.
I think a lot of these things, if you do dig into the science, they're pretty easily debunked scientifically. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us or with the public that are going to watch this video about the virus or about the vaccine or just about staying safe?
I think one thing I would like to say, because I do think this is really important for everyone, we will get through this, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we will get an effective vaccine. Now, I don't know if that will be us or if it will be.
We're hoping it is.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. But I think for society as a whole, it doesn't really matter who it is. It matters that we get one or two or however many are successful. All we need is a successful vaccine. We're already seeing some potentially effective medicines, which is really important, and we're already seeing improvements in the testing numbers. So there are a lot of positive things out there at the moment, but you know, science and development of these types of products take some time, unfortunately. And so, you know, trust in clinicians and doctors and nurses and scientists maybe, because we genuinely have the best intentions at heart, and you know, we're all working literally day and night to try and get these things for the general public. Just stay safe.
So appreciative of everything that you're doing, all your hard work, especially for taking time away from that to hop on this video with us. It really means a lot, so thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Kate. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It's just been a pleasure, and I can't wait until this is all over, because right before this started, I was supposed to come to your house and I canceled. So we will pick it up when this is all over and celebrate, but not too soon, because we can't be optimistic too quickly. So, all right. Well,
thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.